The Sonic series has a large history of iconic locations like City Escape, Green Hill Zone, Windmill Isle, and all these set pieces and moments we have stuck in our heads since our childhood, but in reality, all of these locations you remember are basically the same thing. They're just obstacle courses where you'll go from point A to point B, platforming and avoiding obstacles. There's really nothing special about that. So then, why are these platforming levels so unique? What's the thing that makes us go and think of these places as more than just obstacle courses? Well, my answer is immersion. These games are immersing you into their worlds, making them feel like real locations you are speeding through. But I would say a more precise description of what's immersion in Sonic would be that the levels are indeed just platforming levels designed around the character you are playing as. However, the game is trying to do everything possible for that not to seem the case. To me, the most fascinating part of all this is that good Sonic games are so good at this that they make the single most absurd types of level design imaginable. Rails, springs, and all crazy Sonic elements in the middle of things like cities, and they still make it feel like it's something real. Let me give you a great example of how one of the most iconic Sonic levels do it. Radical Highway. The level already begins with you grinding down a rail. When that rail actually happens to be part of the San Francisco Bridge, then you come to the rest of the level, which, by the simple looks of the footage, is, from a real-life standpoint, questionably designed, to say the least. But it's the real elements that make this level what you would even call a playable cutscene. There are bombs dropping all over the place, and when you get close, they explode and you get hit. It shows that Shadow didn't just steal the Chaos Emerald. He stole it from the United States of America. Jokes aside, there are even airplanes that are flying everywhere. You can even homie attack them. They're also flying everywhere across the whole location, which is so story accurate because if you know the story of Sonic Adventure 2, you know that Shadow stole that Chaos Emerald from a museum, and one of the reasons he was mistaken by Sonic was actually not entirely his look, but also his fast speed. So it makes so much sense for the airplanes to be flying all around, trying to surround Shadow rather than to aim for him. Sonic Adventure 2 also does this in other levels where you attack and those are not the only details here. You can grind across these extremely cool and can even be taken advantage of if you really nail the game's gameplay. But the thing that everyone remembers is the iconic set piece of Shadow going down the San Francisco Bridge in the later part of the level, turning such a real location into such a fantastical set piece for the character of Shadow, with that cherry on top being the sweet, well-timed trick animation at the end. The reason this works so well is because it would be so natural for Shadow or anybody with the ability of grinding down rails to do that to gain height after a steep rail. I can even remember the first time I pulled that off every time I go replay Sonic Adventure 2 and reach that moment, and it's likely you do too. The weird question with all of this is, how was the game able to pull all of this off while being extremely nonsensical? It's insane. You can even look at the rest of Sonic Adventure 2 and see how the game, on paper, would not in any way be immersive. Creators like Chowmix already broke down how living in City Escape isn't a good idea, but it's something you can only notice long after you pay close attention and specifically ask yourself this question all over the level, which that in itself is something that completely contradicts the idea of immersion, doing everything to create the illusion the place is a living location. It's something that can't be living, but the game is so good at immersing you into its world that you have to go out of your way to realize that. The most interesting part of all of this is that Sonic games have been doing this since the first Sonic the Hedgehog 35 years ago. See, Sonic basically pioneered the concept of a background with multiple layers that keep on moving just as Sonic speeds through Green Hill Zone. You see how the background is moving and how it gives Sonic such a sense of speed. And that's pretty much what Sonic is supposed to be. It's supposed to evolve the standard that Mario set by making you feel like you are in that world. The latter and its sequels also did many other things to immerse players. The enemies are mostly made to perfectly fit the environment they're in. The gimmicks seem natural to the gameplay, and that's the important thing here. It's taking all this slopey level design that's otherwise something weird and treat it straight as an arrow. It's this idea of being absurd just enough where it fits the franchise's natural absurdity, and then treating it straight as an arrow in the way that makes the player so open-minded they don't really notice anything during normal gameplay. It's what makes everything I talked about earlier work. Now, what you could say is the most awaited part of this video is answering the big question. Are the newer Sonic games engaging with the concepts of immersion well like the two examples I showed earlier? Well, let's see. Sonic Heroes seems to be following the footsteps of Sonic Adventure 2, just fine in most areas. 06 seems to be doing it just fine, in the 06 way at that, even though I didn't play the game and don't plan on doing it anytime soon. Then we have Sonic Unleashed, my sweet little masterpiece. The moment-to-moment immersion of this game is off the dang charts. You are breaking the pots without mercy, nearly parkouring through Rooftop Run. This game makes me feel like Sonic the Hedgehog, turning you into a speeding missile. It's so peak. Sonic Generations seems to carry that over mostly, but it kinda lost the satisfaction of you breaking through pots and other materials. But it's got its own stuff, like this peak shortcut through the Green Hill Zone bridge. I think that was pretty cool. Most Sonic games seem alright, speeding up all the way to 2022. Sonic the Hedgehog. Welcome to Brazil. I do like Sonic Frontiers a lot. I think it's a very fun game with very well-designed platforming, but oh my days, the platforming is everything it shouldn't look like. It's got nothing. The pop-in makes my eyes want to bleach themselves. Not even a cyberspace showing up effect to cover it up, man. It's got no polish or care. It's just rushed at the door. And cyberspace doesn't make it any better. It simply has nothing. Which leads us to Shadow Generations, which brings an extraterrestrial improvement to the moment-to-moment immersion of gameplay. Now we are back to Sonic Generations again, but sadly without the speed effects of such games. However, the game doesn't have anything external in the level that requires them, like Unleashed or Generations, with things like breakable objects throughout the level. In conclusion, one of the reasons we love the Sonic franchise so much is because of how it immerses players into its game worlds, from the ups and the downs and again ups. It's a demonstration that Sonic should always be evolving the gameplay of platformers, making some new systems people would find fascinating. The little details that make things feel real, those are the things that gave us momentum-based gameplay, and many other things. And as I explained in the video, immersion. I think this is something all future Sonic games should be striving for. And with all that said, bye bye.